Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more WNBA news. And of course, with the end of the NCAA season, there's the specter or the emergence of the WNBA draft. And of course, there's a lot with this WNBA draft. There's a lot of talent, there's a lot of versatility, there's a lot of excitement, but it's just an omen of things to come for the stars and the talent for the WNBA. Now, of course, this will be the first WNBA class after the CBA has been approved. So there will be a lot more money for the rookies, and there's a lot more money potentially in the future for these stars as well. So there's a lot of optimism with this draft because it's the beginning of even more greatness for the WNBA because you have the stars that's coming out next year and so forth after that. And it's looking very promising. So, um, we're just seeing the start of the greatness for the WNBA and where they can go. So, and after reading several mock drafts, I think I agree with the ESPN mock drafts the most because of the placements they have people for their team's needs and not more so the better player. Because in their overall projections, they have Olivia Miles going first to the Dallas Wings. And I always thought for a couple of months now, well, maybe several months now, that Olivia Miles would be the best pick for the Dallas Stars because for simple fact of I think she's the best overall talent in this draft class. Now, AZ Fudd was predicted for most of the season to be the first pick, but I think she's more of a jump shooter. She is a defender, so she's more of a 3-and-D player, but she's not as versatile on the offensive end as Olivia Miles is. And Olivia Miles, for what she lacks on defense, she makes for an offense. So being a leader or orchestrator of the offense, in addition to her being able to pass the ball around, make passes to put you in a better spot to score. She can go score herself when she needs to, when it's essential for her to do so. And also, she can do a little rebounding as well. So, and I believe in some aspects, she's not as physical as AZ Fudd, but I think she can get more done for a team. She reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd when she plays, just for, just she's not looking to score, but she can score. But her passing ability is amazing and what she does for her team. And without her team, the offense just doesn't run the same. So it's very Jason Kidd like if I had the first pick and I needed a point guard or some kind of guard play, because I believe she can move to the two as well, that I would definitely pick Olivia Miles. And for what the Dallas Stars need, you definitely need a player like Olivia Miles because you have Paige Beckers, you have Erica there. You have other pieces around that need to score. And Olivia Miles is low ego, low maintenance. She doesn't need a lot of touches. She doesn't need a lot of points to be satisfied in the offense. She's not seemed to be wild by the stats, but more so winning. And that's what Dallas needs because you have Paige to score. That's why you got Paige. You drafted her number one last year to do that, and she's been doing that. Um, but they haven't been as successful because they don't have. They've been running Paige at the point, and they've been running others at the point. They don't have a solidified point. Olivia Miles give you that solidified point guard play, elite point guard play that you will need to help Paige Beckers ascend to the next level, and then plus also having Erica if she's still there. Of course, there are a lot of pieces with this draft um, that have to come together before these players are drafted because we're still in the WNBA off season and it got kind of a late start. So a lot of pieces are still moving around, but we know that Paige Beckers will be there. So that 1-2 punch will be definitely promising for the foreseeable future for the Dallas Stars. And they have our fam at 2. And I like our fam at 2 to the Lynx because I think it makes more sense for what the Lynx are trying to do as well. Now we know Lauren Betts is a good player, well, a great player, just came off from the NCAA championship win against South Carolina. She is a good player, but I don't think she's a better fit for the Lynx than our fam is. Now our fam is younger. She's more versatile. She's rangy. She's long. Lauren Betts is all those things minus the energetic and the youth that our fam has. She will come into the league a lot younger, a lot less tread on the tires than Lauren Betts. Lauren Betts has been in NCAA play for what, 5 years? A lot of physical play, a lot of mileage on those tires. Um, and plus, she can't get up and down the court like our fam can. Our fam can dunk. She can do all these different things. She can bring ticket sales, but also defensively, I think she's more aggressive or more rangy than Lauren Betts is because of her athleticism. So when you pair our fam with Nafisha Collier and a Courtney Williams and the defensive co-defensive player of the year in Smith, all of those pieces coming together, you will have a very versatile team, but you will have an elite defensive team as well. Not saying that Lauren Betts won't be elite defensively, but I don't know how much tread is on her tires. And I think it's more beneficial for Minnesota to take the younger route because with our fam, I believe you can get more years out of her. But also, I think once Nafisha is on the way out, you're already kind of restocked as far as play goes because our fam being only 19, I believe Lauren Betts is around 22, should be 23 this year, I believe. You have a lot more years. So I believe they're taking an NBA route where they're drafting players younger, especially if they're overseas, because you can develop them, but also you can get more coaching out of them. Because Lauren Betts isn't a is a grown woman already. Awa is still a teenager. She's still learning the game. You can still mold her into the player that you want her to be more so than even a Lauren Betts. Not saying that she's not coachable, but the younger player, they give those players the edge, especially in the NBA, most more so. And so that makes a lot of sense. Now, AZ Fudd, they have her at 3 to Seattle, which I think with Skylar Diggins and Agumake being 35 and almost heading out of the league, it makes sense to get a younger shooter in there. I think they'll find out the point guard play later. But I just seen a recent post that said Agumake she made a post saying that she's leaving Seattle. So this makes even more sense because now you can replace that shooting and that star power with a younger player in AZ Fudd who will be an elite shooter, but of course they need to find a point guard to get her the basketball because she can't really necessarily create her own shot. And in WNBA it'll be even more difficult. But I think that'll be a good pick for Seattle just to restock that front court, back court, um, with AZ Fudd. And also you'd be pairing her with Dominique Malonga, who's another young player that is ascending. And she didn't get a lot of minutes as I would like her see her gotten last year, but I think this year she'll get more of those minutes. She's more in that mold of our fam and even Akat Makir out of South Carolina, these long and kind of lanky defenders that are very rangy and very difficult to deal with on the defensive end. So I think she'll make a lot of noise with AZ Fudd up there in Seattle. Now, they do have Lauren Betts at 4 to the Washington Mystics, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I think it makes sense in the term of the context of their team because the Washington Mystics have a lot of young talent with Sonia Citron and Georgia Amore and Kiki Area Finn. So it'll make a lot of sense because Lauren Betts doesn't, she has, a lot of experience in the college game. She'll be a little bit older. Um, Not so much for WNBA terms, but in the terms of sense of being coached and being able to mentor the other players. But also, she's not expected to play right away because she has Kiki Area Finn already there, who will be in her second year, who was an elite center actually in NCAA as well. Georgia Amore is coming off that injury. Sonia Citron pretty much left off where she did in college to WNBA and what she did last year, making those great stats and making great shots and things like that. So they have a young core, which I think Washington, which I'll talk about in a little bit, will be a pretty dangerous team going forward. But I think that's a solid pick. But one of the biggest picks I think I agree with in this mock draft is the Chicago Sky's pick of Flau'jae Johnson because it makes a lot of sense because with the exodus or the trade of Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream, I think it makes a lot of sense to replace that star power. And Chicago has been feeding for another star for quite a while and a great leader. Now, I think Angel Reese was a great double threat, but I don't think she was necessarily a leader on that team. She was more so do as I do and follow what I do. But she's not more of the leader type. Flau'jae would give that leadership and that foundational piece that Chicago needs because Chicago has the 2 first round picks from the Angel Reese trade. And then in hindsight, they've traded a LSU star in Angel Reese and will be drafting an LSU star and Flau'jae Johnson if these mock drafts are correct. So you're kind of replacing that same pedigree from Kim Mulkey's tree, but at the same time, you're getting a better part of the tree as far as leadership goes. Now, Flau'jae has a lot of things to work on as far as the offensive end and being a consistent scorer, but her defense and the way she rallied the troops and the way she can take over a game is still there. So I think she'll be elite scorer, but she needs to find out how to be an elite shooter as well. And I think she'll figure that out eventually with the resources that they have in the WNBA and the money that's being funneled through. I think they will have better trainers and better coaches and things like that. So things are going to get better. But I do think for this rebounding or rebuilding season that the Chicago Sky have, Flau'jae Johnson will be an essential piece for that, especially with the leadership part. And then number 9, they have Cody McMahon to the Washington Mystics, which I think is a nice piece to the lineup because she brings physicality, her ability to run up and down the court. She's very elite on the defensive end as well, playing the passing lanes, playing one-on-one coverage. She can make it difficult on any offense. So I think she's a valuable two-way player that they have. She's another player that has to work on the consistent shooting ability, but she's not gonna be afraid of the moment. She's not gonna be afraid to take shots when she's missed a few. She has that short-term memory like that, which you always like for these players. Um, but if they can add Cody McMahon in addition to adding Lauren Betts to the pieces of Sonia Citron that they already have Georgia Amore, Kiki Ariafin, they have Shakira Austin, one of my favorite players. With those pieces, they are creating this huge potential to be a dynasty, similar to what the Houston Comets did in the late '90s with the introduction of the WNBA going back to back to back into these championships. If they can stay healthy and keep this team together with the talent that they have, they should be, the next dynasty of the WNBA. They're just that elite. They're just that. They have a high ceiling. But like I said, it's all contingent upon if they can keep this team together, if they can stay healthy. I think they'll do great things. They have a lot of great pieces, and they have a lot of young talent that can mature together, and then eventually, create this NCAA like run because all of these NCAA teams, especially on more so on the women's side, play a few years together, and they get that camaraderie, and then they just become difficult to defeat. Kind of like what Villanova had with Josh Hart and um, DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson and all those guys. They can create that type of atmosphere with this team with all the youth that they have. So I do like that Cody McMahon pick to the Mystics. But a bigger one pick that I hope comes to fruition is Raven Johnson to the Indiana Fever. Now, I think Raven Johnson is an essential piece, the most underrated prospect in this draft because of she's not really dependent upon stats, but more so leadership, i.e., a Flau'jae Johnson, Raven Johnson, no no relation to Flau'jae, but same last name, is a great leader as well. Very great defensively. Can put the ball in the basket, but not no more so not an elite shooter. She's a scorer, but not elite shooter. And there's a huge difference. But you don't need her to be that when you have Caitlin Clark there. You have Mitchell there as well. So Kelsey Mitchell. So you don't really need her to score. You need her to orchestrate the offense, get Caitlin into certain spots, even though Caitlin does play that point guard position. But I think her being more off the ball will help her preserve some kind of energy and preserve some kind of help with that usage rate problem that they might have, especially with her and Kelsey Mitchell. But if you have Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark coming off screens and you have the elite centerpiece that most people don't realize in their center play for the Fever and Aaliyah Boston, you'll have a pretty dynamic team because they're very good defensively, but offensively, I think they still can orchestrate the offense a little bit better. And I think Raven Johnson can help them get into those sets, especially being coached by the great Don Staley. So I think this is a great piece for them and will help with chemistry. Raven Johnson is another one of those players that is low ego, low maintenance. So it'll be definitely great in that offense because you are not expected to score. You have Aaliyah Boston in the paint to do that. You have Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark on the outside to do that as well. So only thing that would need is you to be the spearhead of that defense and also be the orchestrator of offense. And I think Raven Johnson makes a great make great sense because you can move Caitlin Clark to the three, and you can move Kelsey Mitchell to the two, and then you have Aaliyah Boston in the paint manning everything down. So it's a great pick as well. They have at 13 Tanaya Latson to the Atlanta Dream, which will be great for Tanaya because coming from FSU to South Carolina, I believe she learned a lot in regards of being a better teammate. Because at FSU, she was the show. She was averaging the most points per game in the season before she came to South Carolina. But in South Carolina's system, she wasn't asked to do that, or she wasn't going to do that because they had so many different pieces. Because they had way more talent at South Carolina. They had better coaching, no disrespect to the FSU coach, but you just had a better system that was based on team and not so much so a solo star. And if she goes to the Atlanta Dream, it'll be just that because, as you know, they traded for Angel Reese. They have Brittany Griner. They have Alicia Gray there. So they have scoring, rebounding, defending, all of those things there. Tanaya Latson will pretty much, and then I believe they still have the other South Carolina. Um, they still have the other South Carolina player there as well. So they will have enough pieces to where she doesn't have to start right away and she can develop and take her time. Pow Pow. So Pow Pow is there from South Carolina as well. So she won't be expected to play right away. She will be expected to, learn behind those guys and develop and do all those great things. But I think Latson going to South Carolina definitely helped her development because if you looked at the tournament, she had a game where she had 16 points and like 11 rebounds. So she learned how to rebound. She learned how to pass better. She learned how to be a better teammate. She didn't get a lot of shots like she did at FSU, but I think she still was um, essential for their offense and what they did, even though they fell short in the national championship. Now, I think if she didn't go to South Carolina, she'd be a high draft pick, but I don't think she would have learned how to be a better player, and I think she extended her career because of her trip to South Carolina, and she got more exposure. But in effect, I think it did hurt her draft stock a lot because her numbers went down. But I think she'll be a better player for the long run because of it. So those are my takes from the WNBA draft, the mock draft, up this upcoming Monday, and then we'll definitely cover and do a review after this draft. It's actually been complete on Monday, and until next time, I'll see you next time.